Aparna is a very dear friend of mine. I know her really well. She's based in Pune, and I'm going to tell you a little backstory. Okay, so Aparna and I, we know each other for many years, and she was an average runner. Okay, both of us are into fitness and running, and but she does a lot more about than running, which I'm going to be telling you just now. But I'm going to tell you of an incident when this was in the year 2015. Okay, and when she was an average runner, I was a good runner, but she was an average runner. But still, we got along really well because we used to have a lot of interesting conversations. We were in a meeting and in some meeting, and then we came out of the room. And after that, she just said to me, we were just conversing, and she mentioned to me that in 2017, I am planning to scale the Everest. I mean, my jaw dropped because I didn't know anyone of who had climbed the Everest. Okay, I just heard of, Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, and I knew a few others also did thereafter. But I didn't know of anyone who had even thought of climbing the Everest. And here she was 2 years, and she wasn't even a great runner. Okay, and guess what? She did it. She climbed Everest. And in fact, Aparna, let me also share this with you. You remember you had given in that function in Pune in Deccan, you had given a portrait to me, okay, of the Everest. Yeah, it's in my living room. So if any one of you come to my house, you will see that portrait of the Everest which Aparna had given me. And so Aparna is a Mount Everest climber, and apart from that, she's obviously a runner. And for those of you who are into running, you might have heard of this event called as Comrades Ultra Marathon. It is a running event in South Africa, and it is one of the most challenging. It is one of the toughest runs in the world. It is an 89-kilometer run which needs to be completed within 12 hours. Otherwise, you're disqualified. Aparna has done the Comrades Marathon as well. Okay, so Aparna is both an Everest summiter and also a Comrades winner. And I don't know if there is, at least I know, I don't know if there is any other woman in the world who has both these achievements. Maybe there are, but at least I don't know any of them. Okay, so that is Aparna for you. And she, even though she may be one of her kind in the world, but she's an extremely down to earth person. And many of us in Pune are inspired by her. In fact, many people owe their running or mountaineering or any kind of fitness achievements to Aparna. So, and this is on the personal side. That's how I've always known Aparna. Apart from that, she is an achievement coach and an organization development consultant and a motivational speaker as well. So today we have Aparna with us, and all of us, we are going to get to interact with her. It's been, we were supposed to start at 8:30, but it's been a little long. Okay, but I'm sure it's going to be worth it. I'm not going to take any more time. I'm going to just hand over to you, Aparna. It's over to you. You're on.
Thank you. Thank you, Sudhir. And thank you, everyone, for all the warm welcome and, for saying their great achievements. I don't know if I deserve it or it's supposed to sound so grand as Sudhir makes it sound. Sudhir just has bias. He might if you look at Sudhir, he is not wearing glasses, but let me tell you, he has pink tints on all the time when it comes to me. And so he has a bias for that. So please ignore all the things that he does talk about. And yet, yes, I've been lucky to have been able to get some achievements going. So he, in fact, requested for a small video, and I couldn't do that. And sorry about that. I was traveling back from Mumbai. I was there yesterday. I'd gone to run in a 12-hour stadium run. That's where I was yesterday. And then today, back on the train, and I had calls and meetings all day long, and I just surfaced out of one. And I was trying to log in. Technology, I tell you, it never seems to create hassles for all of us. I personally am a non-technical person, as you can figure out. And, technology and I never went together at all. Sudhi, on the other hand, comes with a long list of technical achievements. He comes from a lot of prior experience. So, why this whole meeting that he has, on Zoom and stuff like that. Yep. I don't know. And in fact, Sudhi and I had this conversation and we said, how would we want to structure the talk? And I said, I wanted it interactive. What I'd like to call this whole thing is, sort of scale. He talked to you about my Everest journey or my achievement for Everest. I want to call this entire discussion, conversation that we have over the next, whatever, half an hour, 45 minutes, hour, whatever is your schedule, scale or scaling your own Everest. Okay, and when I say this often because not everybody really needs to climb that mountain. I mean, sure, if you like the mountains, you're more than welcome to go do that. However, what you really want to look at is saying, for each one of us in our lives, we have our own Everests. Okay, and it could be something as basic as, I want to start getting up at 6 in the morning from tomorrow, and without dilly-dallying, get out of my bed, make my bed, get out of the house and walk 1 block and come back. Okay, it could be as simple as that. And I stick to it. Maybe I start off and I make 1 day, and then 2 days later, there's something that happens. Oh, I had a late night. Oh, I didn't sleep. Oh, it's a Sunday today, or whatever. And we don't go down and do it. Okay. It could be, I want to quit smoking, can't quit. It could be something as simple as, I want to be able to cross the street. Believe me, I'm one of those. Okay. I've scaled Everest. However, get me to cross streets and I can't cross them. I'm petrified of crossing the streets. And then I get hold of random strangers on the road. Okay. Completely random strangers. Now imagine, here I am, looking all high, healthy, fit, fine, able-bodied, etc. And standing in the middle of the road, looking on both sides, and I don't know anybody. And then some random stranger walks up, man, woman, whoever. I get hold of them and I'm like, excuse me, would you help me cross the street? And then they look at you like saying, okay, is she all right? I mean, why does she need help? But that's an Everest that I need to get going. Okay. So the point I'm trying to make here is, don't get caught up with the word Everest in that sense. Whatever it is that you visualize or think or perceive as being tough for you, let's make that first step, or let's take that first step in being able to say, okay, I want to be able to get past this. It's as simple as that, right? And in that, in between, we look at, the actual Everest as a climb as well, right? So one of the requests that I'm going to make to all of you who can switch on their cameras to do that, it just helps us connect better. Okay, those who have bandwidth issues, etc., I understand, but all those who can switch them on, don't believe me, I'm not going to love you less or more just because of the way you look. It doesn't matter. All right, it's very, very superficial. Though I also must admit, to me, and Sudhi will be the first one to agree there. For me, it's very important that I look good. Okay, it's extremely important. I don't care what I do, as long as I look pretty doing it. That is the most important thing. All right. So sure, I get the point that we all want to look good, but it's okay. Don't try and cover those backgrounds. Don't whatever. We are in our house. All of us are where we are. Let's at least there be as honest as we can. Okay. Here's an excellent opportunity that the pandemic brought for all of us. That you can be in your own house, whatever is your house, whichever way it is. You'll have a pressure cooker whistle that will go off, a kid who wants to come into the screen and camera. My 4-legged baby constantly wants to come in and sit right next to me. And that's a new, and I'm not going to call it a new normal. I'm just going to say that's another reality. Because when we go out there into the world, we leave all these things behind. And the more we leave our original selves behind, the tougher it becomes for us to achieve anything. So whenever you are on camera, on call, on meetings that you conduct, be where you are. It's okay. It's okay. And then one fine day, things will go back and you will go back to the office spaces and you'll go back to being the image that you want people to see of you. Okay. So a beautiful part was, here you are in whichever way. What's essential is that intent of I want to connect. That is critical. And this is, again, I'm going to keep drawing inferences to the running world and my climbing world, etc. But I've said this over the years. 2013, when I took my first 3-kilometer journey, we have something called the last Sunday of the month. And we would have these runs. And in 2013, we were a bunch bunch of people, about 20, 25 odd people who would show up and who would run on that particular Sunday or attempt to walk. Yes, thank you for that, Mukesh. The L SOM, you're absolutely right. And, so that when I took my first 3-kilometer step, of course, me being me, I'd gone and bought myself a fancy t-shirt and a fancy pair of shorts. And if I look at those pictures right now, it's horrifying. Okay. Some horrible person had clicked those pictures, and horrifying is an understatement. All right. I look so bad. But anyway, I did that 3 kilometers. And from there to where the journey was, well, eventually I was part of, the organizing committee for PRBM, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, and it's a big marathon or a big number that we would have. And I had someone come up and say, I want to run, but I don't have a bib. And I said that to a person, to run. And that was our philosophy for Pune running, that you don't need a bib to run. I would initially say to people that you need legs. If you have legs, run. Okay. I later changed that statement. And I said, if you had the intent, when we say that, I mean, Hindi mein jab hum kehte hain usko ki niyat honi chahiye. आप जो भी करना चाहें, नियत होनी चाहिए. Rest of it falls in place. Your intent has to be right. That's the most critical part. So that is all that is essential. So if your intent is to connect with a person, that's all that really matters. And then it's going to be a journey for you to take on, right? So get there with that journey, write down saying, okay, this is what I think, and you have an excellent, coach here in Sudhi for you. As we keep speaking today, write down at least one goal that you think you want to achieve, and then you can work with him and with the rest of your community to go achieve that. I'm also a priest. I perform all sorts of Hindu ritual rites, get people married, perform last rites, all those kind of things. And in that, any puja begins with what we call sankalp. Okay, in Sanskrit, the term is a sankalp. You sort of take water in your hand and you make, you set a goal. Because till you don't know where you have to go, it becomes practically impossible. And all of you who are in the corporate worlds know this, right? SMART goals, very fancy. It has to be specific and measurable and da. We all know that. Okay. So SMART goals. Bottom line, sankalp. In other words, the intent. So write that down and write it to the granular detail. In 2013, when I went out to the Everest base camp, and I went with a friend of mine, and that's how, till then I wasn't saying anything about Everest. But 2013 found me at the base camp, and there's this Kala Patthar that you climb, which is opposite Everest. And I went up. And as I stood opposite the mountain, the only request I had from the goddess was 2017 summer, allow me to come back up and come all the way to the top. At that point in time, I knew nothing. I didn't know you could go up the north side of Everest, the south side of Everest. Of course, in school, we had read highest mountain, 8848, etc. But other than that, I didn't know anything. And of course, everybody climbed in Nepal is how I looked at it. And we knew because, well, Edmund Hillary Tenzing had climbed up from there once upon a time. And here I was in Nepal opposite the goddess, asking her, saying, let me come up. But even in that 2017, very specific year, I was in the May of 2013, putting this out saying 2017 summer, let me climb. Okay. When I came back, I had absolutely no clue of how I was going to do it. I had none of that. And that's when, my sort of journey towards fitness began, and I started doing my runs or whatever. And from there, I moved out. In 2013, naturally, no one was paying attention. Like Sudhi said, I was a very average runner. I could come and go by and no one really noticed. Irrespective of how pretty I looked, it didn't matter. I wasn't running, so no one really cared or gave a damn. 2014, some people said, okay, this one shows up every time, so she's probably a little more regular. And one or two people even asked, saying, so why do you run? We were still a small community. We could interact with people. We had the time. And I remember someone asking me, saying, and why do you run? And I was out there saying, 2017, I'm going to climb Everest and I'm preparing myself. People looked at me saying, oh, really? And I didn't look in any way someone who could climb Everest, okay, by any chance. I mean, I won't say I was ever fat, not really, right? So I was never really fat, but I wasn't lean either, okay? And I'm very gharelu looking in that sense, very, very gharelu. My saris, my bindi, my jewelry, I look anything and everything, is where I come from. So no one would believe. In 2015, because 2017 didn't seem so far off, there was some sort of acknowledgement saying, oh, really, Everest? Okay, wow. By 2016, now people had started introducing, saying, this is Aparna, and next year she's going to climb Everest. Right? And then 2017, of course, Everest happened. And then people said, oh, and this is Aparna, and she's conquered Everest. And I want to make that correction right at the start before somebody else amongst you says that you can't conquer a mountain, right? The goddess, the mountains allow you to come up, and that the sooner we as humans acknowledge that that nature, that universe, all of it is larger than all of us. So the minute you put that intent out, along with that intent also needs to come faith. And when I say faith, I'm not talking about religion and Bhagwan and, saying, oh, ask him. What I'm talking about is saying, have a faith in the universe, because that's larger than us. And whoever you believe, if you do believe in some God of some kind, please go ahead and trust or believe in that God. Okay. But having that intent, and that intent would be, that intent is yours, but the faith is with someone else. And that someone else could be a person, that someone else could be you yourself. But put that faith out there, saying, I trust you to be with me on this journey to completion. Because as humans, that trust is what takes us through. Every time that you feel a little low, go back to this person that you are asking for that faith from. And then that person or that faith factor is going to get you, wherever you want to reach. And again, something that I say, and probably anybody here who does not comprehend Hindi by any chance, because I seem to use a few words, and I hope, is there someone like that? Just sort of put out a hand or put it on chat, and I'll make sure that I don't end up using. Sudhi, would you know somebody from the southern states or something?
We do have people from the southern state, but the amount of Hindi that you're using, we are good. No problem. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So, the fact that, as I said, that this whole thing, yes, okay, Murugesan, all right, I'll keep that in mind anyway. Thank you for saying that out, right? So when you talk about it, as I said, there is faith, and you need to have that faith. There are two things which are different. Again, I'm going to identify those two words, because it's good to understand the two right at the start. There is belief, and then there is faith. It's like what we say, there is Shraddha and there's Vishwas. Okay, two very different things. You have the faith, but you lack the belief. It doesn't help. You may have Shraddha, but if no Vishwas, it can't go far. Each time that any of you go to whichever God that you believe in, and you fold your hands and you say, please, God, make it happen, I'm going to say you have the faith, but you lack the belief. Because the minute you need to go and ask, you are saying, I don't know if it'll happen. So that belief is critical. You have to be able to believe in yourselves. Those of you who sort of, enjoy watching movies, go watch Kung Fu Panda one more time. Okay. If you watched it earlier, doesn't matter. After this talk today, go back and watch the film. And the only statement that holds throughout the movie is, you need to believe. Okay. And the reason I bring up Kung Fu Panda is because that was one movie that helped me when I was in the mountains. Yeah. Sure, Pooja, I'll do that. So explain the difference between belief and faith. Belief is when it is rock solid. No matter what happens, you don't shake it. It is there. It's not for the asking. Faith, on the other hand, has a larger canvas, and faith can get shaken. All right. Faith is about trust to a certain level and hope to a certain level. But a belief is rock solid. And that belief can be about yourself, your parents, your family, your, whoever. For me, it's the universe. I know that when you put out the intent, and perhaps some of you have heard of the book, or some of you have read the book called The Secret. Okay. And I kind of feel bad because I'm not a writer. I can't write to save my life. I can't, ever talk really to do anything in that own self. But if I was to have written, I would have written that book so much before. And, you would have had a different sort of bestseller happening out there. But that's something that I've seen happening for myself from a place of being told I could. Yes, Santosh, you're absolutely right that faith is external and belief is internal. Absolutely right. And belief is internal because it can't be pulled outside of you. And hence, I agree with that word internal. Okay, so you're right there that it can't come out no matter what, it doesn't shake. It's like that story of that little boy in a village which is everybody is dying because of the drought. And they all decide to get together at a temple and pray for the monsoons. And everybody shows up at the designated time to now go and sing prayers to, the monsoon god so that rains come in. And only one little boy carries an umbrella with him. And when people say, why are you carrying an umbrella? We are praying for the rains to come in. And he says, yeah, if you pray, the rains will come in. I don't want to get wet. Now that umbrella is your belief. It's where you're saying that no matter what, I believe. And that's intrinsic, that's inside of you. Okay. So you need to have that. When you make that sankalp, that intent, let it be backed up by belief. Then you see yourself doing it, saying, okay, in 2013, as I said, I had no clue, no context of what Everest was. 2017 was already put out there. And then I worked backwards. And as fitness people, and those of you who are runners and fitness people will understand this, we keep saying for bones and for weight, for health and fitness, D3, yeah, vitamin D3 is critical. Now I have a very different definition for that D3. To me, the D3 are three different Ds. The first one is devotion, the second one is dedication, and the third one is discipline. Yeah? Now those three, that D3 will take you way more than any other D3 can. Right? Because and when I say devotion, it's that shiddat, it's that total belief that no matter what, everything now for this one factor, and I know it's going to be true. None of us have seen God, and yet every day we fold our hands, stand in front of some stone that we've given power to, and we think it's all going to be all right, irrespective of religion. We're not talking religion here. We're just saying whichever deity we believe in, right? That is devotion. Don't know if it'll come true or not, but ask every day, devotion. Then is dedication. No matter what, one single purpose. In Sanskrit, we say samdam dandabhed, right? No matter what it takes, you give it all that you have, and that is dedication. And then, of course, these two have no place unless you have discipline. Wherever you go, whatever you do, as a professional today, when I travel, and now that the pandemic is kind of, at least the second wave is out of the way and stuff like that, I'm back to traveling. I'm traveling so much. And I sometimes skip taking the laptop, but I don't skip taking my running shoes. They go with me everywhere, absolutely everywhere. I can scope in a 2-kilometer run. I can scope in a 20 if time allows, but that is every single day. Some amount of fitness that I've promised myself, and it doesn't mean I run every day. I do some other stuff, but fitness aimed at myself, because that is the only gift that I can give to myself, being fit. So with that as a factor, the 3 Ds that you look at is what you want to focus on. And the minute you have those, anything and everything becomes possible. So you've got your goal out there, you put out your intent, you said, this is what I want to do. You've granular and made it specific. Now, once you've done that, you say, okay, how am I going to go doing that? And that's how my research began. Saying, all right, now that I've said Everest, what do I need to do? Then I started reading up, I started finding out, and I realized there were 2 sides, north and south. Then I weighed the pros and cons. And I said, okay, I'm going to go from the north side. And when I decided to go on the north side, of course, I had everyone telling me it's more technical, it's tougher, it's costlier, all of that. But all right, intent was put out there saying north side. And I looked at being able to do that. Then came in saying, what is the kind of training I would need? And that's where that discipline helped, because every single day, no matter what. And on days that I had workshops and I would start at 9:30 or 8:30 in the morning basis, so 8:30 leave home for a 9 o'clock or 9:30 start of the work day, my training would start at as early as 2:30 in the morning, because that's when I would begin, and I would consistently do whatever was planned. But day in, day out, because the only thing that I had in my control were my efforts. So efforts you can't fall short of. In my room, I have a little signage that I've put up. And I keep doing these. I keep putting up these little notes all over where they're visible. Okay. Again, those of you who are with the corporates will understand this. We have these vision, mission statements everywhere. Yeah, in an organization. Now, vision, mission statements are not there because it's an ISO requirement. Okay. Vision, mission statements are there because if they're up there, they're supposed to remind people that, guys, this is what we stand for. Now, that's the way I have these little boards and signages everywhere. I've learned it from my mother. However, my mother, of course, would leave instructions, turn off the lights, don't leave the bottle knob open. Those were her instructions for all of us. She would actually, and over the years, she continues to do that. Glass jar, she'll put a label on it saying sugar. And I would ask her, is that for the well-read ants, to know their way inside? I mean, on a glass jar, why would you want to put sugar? I mean, we can all see sugar on it. But well, maybe it was for the educated ants to find their way in. I don't know. But she would, she has labels. And I learned from her. I don't really have labels, but I have statements that impact, because every time I go past, I see them. And it's a thought that's going in through your mind. You'd rather be surrounded by thoughts that help you than get thoughts in that don't help you forward. And all of us are humans. So those negative thoughts, the doubts, the unhappiness, the anxiety, all those come in. That's what makes us human. But the minute that comes in, you pause and you say, okay, is this helpful? It isn't, leave it aside. And turn around and look, and there is some happy thought, some picture, something that's there that makes you start going back on your path of what you want to do. So there I have this little signage that says, if you fail to prepare, be prepared to fail. And it's a very critical one, because that's something that reminds me all the time that efforts, preparation is the only thing I can do. That's in my control. The rest of it is not essentially in my control. And in the case of the mountains, it's definitely not, because the mountain will decide who comes up and who doesn't. And that effort is in every area then. Effort is by way of training, effort is by way of equipment and gear, effort is by way of the time allocated, effort is by way of the finance, all of it, the efforts are in my hand. The rest of it, leave it out. And again, it's not a philosophy or something big that I'm talking about. We've heard it all along. Those of you who heard of a Bhagavad Gita, heard of the fact that, that's one of the things that, well, Janmashtami today. So Krishna says, karmane vadhikaraste. That's what it is. You just do your karma, you do your duty, you do your task. The results you don't know. At the end of the day, if you don't succeed at what you had aimed out to be, you still have the satisfaction saying, I gave it my best shot. So he talked to you when he was introducing, saying, I have, run the Comrades Marathon. What he didn't tell you, and that was sweet of him, to have not told you that I attempted it twice. The first time I went over, I couldn't finish it. Right. And I didn't not just finish. I mean, the fact was I came back from Everest and there was just so much pressure. Okay, you had to do something. And then I said, I will do the Comrades run. And then either ways, I was getting jacked by people, right? Since I was preparing, everybody said, what's your problem? You've done Everest. I mean, this can't be difficult. So that's an expectation. And when I was not able to do, I got beaten up for that too, saying, you did Everest, man. How could you not finish this? Right? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. But that's okay. That happens. And I missed out that cutoff by 128 meters. Having run that entire distance, the 12 hours, practically the 12 hours, because I ran all the 12 hours, I missed that cutoff. And that tells you the fact that efforts are there, result may not happen, or because if you build everything to the result, if it doesn't go the way you want it to, you can never emerge out of it. For me, sure, it felt bad, didn't it? Of course, all that effort, having gone to South Africa, spent time only with the run. I didn't even have time to see some fancy looking Africans. Believe me, I mean, I would have loved to try and locate myself a nice looking African of some sort, at least some entertainment. But none of that happened. I was so busy bloody focusing on that run. And then, the next day I went feeling bad. And the third day we were already out of South Africa. I mean, how bad was that? Right. But it just was what it was. And I came back and I said, all right, all I can do is next year go for it all over again. Had I linked it all only to that outcome, that's it. It doesn't allow me to move forward. So the effort is something that you want to focus on, and it's going to take you to where you have to go. And what will come rightfully your way. Because in 2013, when I said 2017, I'm going to climb, I just so knew that 2017, I was going to climb. And the entire universe, conspires to make it true for you. I'm not Shah Rukh Khan, and I can't deliver the dialogue like that, all around kisi cheez ko shiddat se chaho, etc. But what it essentially means is just this, that if you truly put out that intent and believe, it is going to happen for you. And then the last and the most critical part, which is you have to take that first step. That first step is always difficult, but you need to take that first step. Had I listened to the doctors in 2011, October, November, when I started getting, trouble with my bones and my bones started breaking, and by March of 2012, when the doctors were saying that, listen, you need a wheelchair to move around and you'll have to stay in a wheelchair for the rest of your life if you don't want to complicate things, I could have listened to them, or I could have done something about it. And having spent that whole year like that, walking around with support, moving around with wheelchairs, I took that call of saying, no, I'm going to walk out of this, and this is not how I want to be. Taking that first step took all that energy. Once I'd taken that first step, there was no turning back. And from there to that top of the Everest, and the struggle that continues even today, because one Everest, which was a physical mountain, but every other journey is an Everest. The good part is now I have a path for it. I know which way I want to go. When I don't know if any of you watched that movie called Alice in Wonderland, but I mean, forget the movie, even the story per se. It's just to give you two lines. Alice is this little kid who's playing in the garden and she falls down a rabbit hole. It's a story, okay, so it can happen. She falls down the rabbit hole and she finds herself in a land. She's scared initially when she falls, but she lands in this place that is really very beautiful. Okay, it's well lit. There are flowers. There is there is a whole lot of animals and creatures that speak. And the best part is that she can hear them. She can understand what they're saying. And she says, wow, this is like magic, right? This is Wonderland. And all day she has fun. At the end of the day, she comes to like this roadblock or a T-junction. Now she's wondering, should she go left? Should she go right? And right there on that wall, which is at the end of that lane, there's a old wise cat sitting on that wall. And she turns to the cat and she says, Mr. Cat, where do you think should I go, left or right? And the wise old cat in his heavy voice says, well, Alice, it depends on where you want to reach. And Alice says, oh, it doesn't matter. I've been having fun. It doesn't matter if I reach left or I reach right. So the cat says, then it doesn't matter which way you go. Now, the question for all of us is, how many of us are like Alice? We don't know where we want to reach. In which case, it doesn't matter which way we go. But if you do know where you want to reach, it's going to help you define that path for yourself. Yep. So having spoken for the last 30 minutes, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to ask you guys for questions that you have. just type them in or unmute yourself. And I think that's easier, because by the time you type, most of you are these, one finger typists, unlike me. I come from the old school of thought. We have all finger type. So by the time you think your thought, I've typed it through. Yes, go ahead, please. Ganesh, you have a question. Ganesh, I think you're on mute. I'm not able to hear you.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, two questions. Would you like to go back to Mount Everest once again? You have that plan? A, that's a question. And number two, what was your first instance when you are seeing the top of that Mount Everest? What was your feeling?
Okay.
That's
So to answer your first question, am I going back to Mount Everest? I am going back to Mount Everest. That's right. I'm going back as of now. The intention is for 2023. It was originally for 22, but it's for 23. However, I'm not going back for myself. There's a foundation that I'm a part of and I run. It's called Adventures Beyond Barriers. We work with for persons with disability. And there's a blind girl who wants to go scale Everest.
wow.
And I am going to go with her because from China, it's a mandate. Nepal doesn't permit any blind people anymore. And from China, it's a mandate that she has to be accompanied for her climb, and that accompanying person has to be an Everester. So this girl, I have cycled with her from Manali to Kadungla. I've been running with her as of today, as we speak. She's right now at the Siachen Glacier. I come from an army background, so I've enabled her trip to Siachen, and she's there right now in training. And next year, she and I will train, and the following year, so 2023 is when I hope to go back to the mountain. And I'm certain that the goddess is going to let her come up to the top as well. So that's for 2023, to answer your first question, Ganesh. And the second one, what was the thought that, was the first thought that happened when I reached the top? Well, I'm going to give you the very honest answer, and it's very non-glamorous in any form. The first thought was, thank heavens, it's over. Okay, that was my first thought. The second thought was, oh my God, I have to go back down now. Right. But having said that, let me give you a little more of the glamorous answer, which is also true. So the fact that I had these grand plans of saying, I'm going to reach the top and I'm going to do this, sort of prostrate myself up in front of the goddess and go all over and, say thank you. When I reached the top, the available space is about 5 feet by 8 feet. Okay, so I don't even fit in. So I did go down on my knees to get my forehead to touch the goddess. And as I stood up, the sun came up. Okay, and that sight, I think, of seeing the sun rise, as a result, for the first time, I could see the clouds entirely around me. And that realization of top of the earth actually made you realize what it means, because everything was below me. Absolutely everything was below me, right? So that sense was I think, the only sense at that moment was gratitude, because that I had reached where I wanted to reach, the fact that I could see where I had reached. I've been working consistently with persons with disability, and I know what it is not to have that vision. I would rectify that, not to have that sight, okay? Because sight and vision are two very different things. But to be able to see where I was. And I still remember, there were tears of gratitude, of fatigue, of happiness, all of those. And we say, tears have salt, etc. Believe me, because you are fatigued, there is very little salt in the body fluids in that sense. You're losing salt all the time. And the tears freeze. So I had frozen tears, and those icicles were poking the eyes. So you had to kind of shut eyes. You had icicles everywhere. My God, that cold feeling never leaves you ever. There is ice inside your nose, your ears, your eyes, everywhere. But for whatever it's worth, those tears did happen, and there was gratitude. But yes, as I said, the earlier unglamorous answer is equally true, that, you're saying, thank God it's over.
Thank you so much, and wishing you all the best for 2023. Let the whole world conspire along with us, along with me, to attain you that feat. And we could feel that. I could feel that Everest right now with your answers. Thank you, Lord.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Ganesh. Thank you. All right. So anyone has any other questions? and need not be Everest. Okay, like I said, leave that Everest aside. It's just a mountain. It's not about. It's just for you, yourself, your journey. Imagine yourself with your Everest and check how you want to go summit it. What would you want to do, and put out that intent.
Can I ask you a question, Aparna?
Yes, Sudhi, please. Though I don't think you don't know anything that I am going to be sharing, but go ahead.
Yes, yeah. But can you tell us something about what kind of work you do with corporates?
Okay. So I'm a behavioral psychologist, and I work as a coach in the leadership space. 3 areas of work that I enjoy doing. One part of it is, of course, leadership in the sense of coaching at various levels, but more so in the senior level of leadership. I'm an OD consultant, so I work with organizations for an overall change and development, because let's say an organization is at a 50 million as example, and they want to go to 100 million. Everything that they would need to get to that 100 million via processes, via their KPA, KRAs, the number of people, the organizational charts, etc. I work with them on that journey to go achieve that. So that's what I do. And the third thing that I am extremely passionate about and I do is the piece on culture, organizational culture and cross culture. So companies that work with various, international, you either have a joint venture or you have offices in those countries, or within India, you have different parts that play out. And that culture is critical to understand, because that's when communication can happen. And I've been very, very lucky. I've so far traveled to 32 countries around the world, and I bring that culture in. But I think I take larger pride in the fact that I'm one of those rare Indians who's traveled through absolutely every single state and union territory of this country.
Wow.
So to me, that is a sense and purpose of, of pride. It's something that I'm extremely proud of, that my own country I've had an opportunity of going through, either working, staying, traveling through, and it gives me that sense. I speak 9 Indian languages, so it helps me connect with north, south, east, west, all over. And it's that beautiful fact of just people. So, all your lessons lie out there, right? They are, it's from people. Books may tell you something, but what people can tell you. And that's something else that I tell people, for all of you who want to do something, just go out, okay? Just sort of get out of your houses, preferably go alone, nothing like it. But if you are caught up by, or family, spouse, partner, friend, kids, whatever, take them along. But go out there, and not on a, planned package, whatever. This country is just so beautiful. You can, the most amazing set of people. I've traveled, I don't know if you've seen these nomadic tribes, the ones that come with the sheep and things like that. And Pune city, where I am, we have a lot of them that arrive on their way towards Sholapur or towards, wherever. And there are times when I have gone and done that. I have gone, talked to them, and I have accompanied them for 10 or 12 days, just walking with them, living with them in their communities, learning from them. I've gone to a place called Varli. Some of you probably know the drawing, those stick figures that happen. And I've lived in the Varli village with the locals and learned from them. I've gone to, as far as Bhind Morena and been in Chambal Valley and lived with some of the community there and learned from them and what causes them to become dacoits, etc. But it's amazing. It's amazing. For the longest while, I had that as an agenda and, factor in life. I would hop on I'd get to the railway station, the first train that was standing on the platform, I would go on to it and go till I felt like I would get off, whichever station that looked or called out to me. And I would spend like a week or 10 days in that neighboring area. And the beauty of India is you could, as a woman especially, I could go ring any doorbell and there was a meal and a bed guaranteed. I think it's amazing as a country what we are as people. It's truly beautiful. But we don't go out. We don't go out.
Yeah, I know. That's unbelievable. It's simply amazing. question is, how do you find the time? I mean, you have a profession to take care of, then you have your daughters, then you have your dogs. I mean, how do you take care of all of this? And obviously, Everest and running is there too.
Yeah, and there is that too, yes. So I think time, there is plenty. I have loads of time all the time. You just have to want to do it. Okay, you have to want to do it. Yes, it means multitasking, but you have to want to do it. You have to prioritize saying, what do you want? And in that, the nice part is I don't get attached to any of it. Any of it. I give it my best shot. It's like, I often give this example, and it's a horrible example, but it's still there. There's a lizard that sticks to the ceiling. Have you noticed? Lizards don't usually, I mean, they're on a wall and then they kind of go and cling on. Otherwise, they move. Till they're on the walls, they move. But the minute they go to the ceiling, they cling on. And they cling on because they're worried they will fall. But somewhere when they're clinging on, they start believing that they are the ones who are holding up the ceiling. Most of us become like those lizards. We believe that that ceiling is being held up because of us. And which is not true. Believe me, the lizard falls down, the ceiling continues to be there. So for me, if I wasn't there tomorrow for my family or whatever, they're going to go on. They are going to go on. So I prioritize saying, what can I value add to? What makes me feel alive? And I do my best in being there. But at the same time, I equip everyone. I mean, I'm going to give today's call as a brief session. Hadn't we resolved this technical glitch, whatever it was, and I hadn't logged in, I'm sure you guys would have still had a wonderful session any which way. You would have had your conversations. Maybe they would have been different conversations, but they weren't dependent on an Aparna ever.
But the conversation wouldn't definitely been as good as it has been.
No, I don't know. You never know. There would have been someone else who would have stepped in and shared a journey. So there is that part.
Absolutely.
Each one of us is indispensable. The day we realize that, I think, half the pressure goes away. And then you can be your honest self. That is why children are happy. Because they don't carry that load. They just do what they have to. As we start growing up, we fall into the pressure of the society and our family that says, oh, you're an adult now, you must behave like this. You can't say such things. This is being selfish. You can't do this, you have to do that. And so on and so forth. Right? And it just builds up pressure. We work. Why do we work? I have to do a lot of work because I have to, pay bills. Sure, of course. You have a family, you have responsibility. And then I have to work because I have to pay insurance, life insurance. I've never understood that concept ever. Once you die, who gives a damn who got what? If you can, you're dead and gone. Why would you want to cut away from your today to try and pay for somebody else's tomorrow, which you have not seen?
True.
Doesn't matter. You've educated your children, let them be. They will find their way.
Yeah, it's a very good thought. And one more thing which I picked from what you said is about connecting with those nomadic tribes. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, near my place there are always these people, these shepherds with their flock of sheep who come over, and they're just there for a few days and then they go. But I promise you, from next time, whenever they come over there, I'm going to go, and probably I'll drag Reena along as well. And if Sakshi's there, her too. And we are going to be interacting with them.
Just do it. I'll tell you, or if nothing
that's a guarantee.
Like, make a little food that you guys do, and Reena is a great cook anyway, but do a little food and take it over and tell them we want to share our meal with you. Listen to the kind of stories, man. Those guys have traveled and they have such amazing lessons to give you. Amazing.
Definitely.
So truly worth it. Must go. Seriously, go find out. It's an amazing way to learn. Truly amazing way to learn.
We'll definitely do that. Quick check. Anyone, do you have any questions? I'll give you 10 seconds. Anyone who wants to raise a hand. Preeti. Yeah, Preeti, go for it. You can unmute and ask your question. You can switch on your video if you want to.
Hi, Preeti. Preeti, you're on mute.
Hello.
Hi.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Hi, Aparna.
Hi.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your inspirational experience with all of us. And my question is like, I just wanted to understand from you if you can, share some of your suggestions. So, do you have, because I'm from HR, so I just wanted to understand from you that do you have any suggestion when it comes to, connect employees with the culture and values of the organization?
Okay. So is the question saying, how would you get them to connect?
Yeah. So every organization have values.
Yeah.
And they have they have a culture.
Yes.
So how can we make employees connected with the values and culture of the organization? If you have any suggestions.
Sure. So one of the things that you need to look at, Preeti, is as organizations we define or we write down values. Okay, there are big statements around it. The first thing you need to do is, and I'll actually tell you to do this. Your value statements of the organization. Some organizations have them behind their tags, written out or whatever. Write down what you understand and do this exercise, tomorrow, day after, whenever you get into office. Write down what you understand by those values and get your team to write down what they understand by those values. Okay, what those values mean to them. You will realize there's such a wide disconnect. In the 5 or 4 of you who describe those values, you will have 4 different approaches because we are looking at those from a place of our own experiences. So when you want, and when you do this exercise, here's your database to take it to the next level management, saying, this is our disconnect, which means as the top management, let them share saying, what do I mean when I say that these are my values? And for us to be able to depict these values, what are the desired actions? So for example, a lot of companies, value statement is, we are a transparent organization. Okay, very common corporate jargon which says we are a transparent organization. Now, what does that mean? Do you have glass doors? Is that what is transparent? Transparent is, we have no walls at all. Is that what is transparent? When you say transparent, we say what you essentially mean is we want to have that level of trust that anyone can have a conversation with anyone. So for us to be able to do that, what are the desired actions? Possibly we have skip level meetings, possibly people from whichever designation. Today, Aparna, who's a fresher who's joined the organization, should be able to walk up to the CEO and say, I walked in and there was this car parked right in the middle. I'm a new joiner today, but it created a problem for me to come and park my two-wheeler. And without hesitation, the CEO ought to be able to say, oh, it was probably my car that was parked incorrect. Aparna, point noted, next time I'll be more careful. Now that is being transparent because that's how it's translated. And the minute you do that, you've created by this action a culture of trust. So it needs to be woven like that. But if different people, the values mean different, you will never be able to percolate it down. And it always comes from top down. So as an exercise, try this among your 4 or 5 people. You will find, and I can give it to you in writing, you'll find 5 different definitions of those values as they interpret it. Now take it back to your management and say, what do you guys see it as? And what do you want going down as a message? And then in your interactions, meetings, etc., take it down and say, these are the desired actions. And these actions will bring about this, which will create a culture of trust, of transparency, of camaraderie, of whatever you may define it as. Yeah, I hope I answered your question for you.
Yes. Yeah. It gives me lots of clarity now. Yeah. Thank you so much, Aparna. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Thank you, Hemant, for thinking it was a great answer. Thanks for that.
Just check. No, I don't think we have any more questions.
Sure.
Just check. No. Okay. No, nothing in the chat box either. Thank you. Thank you so much, Aparna. And before we go away, each one of you, I request you, please go to our Telegram group and put in your, 3 takeaways from this session. Later on, I'll share this with you, Aparna. And each one of us, let us do that. I have a bunch of notes. In fact, I'm going to post it right away. And in fact, I'll post it here as well as in our Telegram group. So Aparna, these are the points that I picked from the session. Okay. Sure. So I've got lots of notes.
Nice. Sure. I don't know, Kuldeep, if it was wisdom or otherwise. They say age makes you wiser. I think I'm one of those people who's very, very happy getting old, because I'm at least perceived as wise. Whether I am or not is irrelevant. But with age comes wisdom, as they say. So yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Ramat.
This is, yeah. I mean, Aparna, thank you so much. This has been an amazing session. Each one of you, and I know the chat box is already flooded. So let us appreciate and acknowledge and express our gratitude. Special mention, or rather a special, line that we are going to write. All of us, we are going to write "Love you, Aparna" in the chat box. She's an amazing person. She speaks well, and she is a wonderful human being as well. So just type "Love you, Aparna" in the chat box, each one of you. That's how we are going to be appreciating and acknowledging your session for today. It was just wonderful, Aparna. I put in all the learnings, and even though I've known you for so long, every time there is always some new takeaway. And this time there were so many of those, right from that old wise cat's advice to Alice, and also about the analogy with the lizard. How you can't be thinking like a lizard who's holding up the wall. You talked about vitamin D3, so many things, and of course, yeah. Two things that I'm going to do straight away is one, whenever those nomads come in our area, I'm going to see them, go and interact with them and share a meal, like you said. And I'm also going to watch Kung Fu Panda again. Okay, again.
You must, because that's all you keep saying. Believe. All you need to do is believe.
Absolutely, yes.
Righto. Thank you so much once again, Sudhi, and thanks a lot, guys. God bless.
Thank you everyone, and for attending, and thank you so much, Aparna. I'll see you around. Okay, thank you everyone. Goodbye, good night.